Real estate investor, things changed when I hit property number 3 this past year. I felt like I became an awkward and somewhat illegitimate part of an elite club, the members of which started to open up to me about the tried and true tricks of the industry. I started a corporation in 2021 to purchase this third property, and it was at this time that my legal and financial team made me privy to a system that has been in place for ages. I had an immediate light bulb moment. This is how the rich have been using debt to fuel more purchases, investments, and accumulation of wealth. I was shocked for 2 reasons. How this is not more common knowledge, and the realization that this is quite a jaded system that clearly benefits the top 10%. The idea of free money. In 2012, Mark Zuckerberg bought a $6 million home in California with a conventional 30-year mortgage. The question that left us all scratching our heads was, why on earth would someone who is worth $15 billion take on a mortgage, aka debt? If he wanted to, he probably could have bought a dozen of those houses in cash without even batting an eyelash. No, Zuckerberg had not lost his marbles. The idea behind this is that he could use the tax-free appreciation of his asset to generate more free money. Let me explain. Buy, borrow, die. The term buy, borrow, die was coined decades ago by Professor Edward McCaffrey at the University of South California, Gould School of Law, when he realized that certain tax laws benefited the wealthy, the elites. Predominantly, one of the most basic elements of United States tax law, the realization requirement. It is a law that entails that you do not pay tax on an asset until it produces income. The best example is real estate. Any increase in value of your property is not taxed as it is occurring. Now, for most of us, the problem is that sooner or later, we have to sell. But wealthy people are generally able to live in or off of one group of assets and let a handful of others sit and appreciate, a flat in London, a New York City penthouse, a Marbella Beach property, no problemo. The beauty of the situation, for them at least, is they can borrow against those assets at an interest rate that is much lower than the rate at which the assets will appreciate over time, and use those funds as spending money. But unlike the wages and salary most people use to pay for living expenses, the borrowing isn't taxed. Professor Edward McCaffrey. In other words, they are borrowing free money. See, historically, the inflation rate generally hovers around 2.5% to 3%, so as long as these wealthy people are attaining loans at an interest rate lower than that, which they are receiving money for free. The reason they can get such low rates is because they are borrowing against other assets. Lenders know they are good for it. This money is then used to start more businesses, purchase more real estate, or spend. It is a never-ending, wealth-generating cycle. The final step of this process is to pass it all down to the next generation when you pass away so that the wealth cycle can continue. We always hear about people being born into wealth, and essentially, this is a large component of how that works. Beauty in the eyes of the rich, outrage for everyone else. What is a beautiful circle of convenience and wealth for the upper class is generally seen by the rest of us as what I would consider a slap in the face once we realize what is going on. Don't get me wrong, I am all about the hustle. I have spent a lot of time studying the rich, mostly because I hope to one day be a part of this elite class. However, when I discovered that this is how the system has been structured, I couldn't help but be left with a pit in my stomach. Somehow, these tax laws that have been put into place have enabled the people that are swimming in dough to get even more money for free. Meanwhile, people who are struggling to make ends meet are drowning in high-interest debt. You know that we have a problem when billionaires are paying lower rates than middle-class borrowers.